Let's talk handle materials. The Chinese used a variety of handle materials ranging from those that would rapidly degrade in harsh environmental conditions to some that wouldn't. The traditional, beautiful, comfortable handle material would be a fine Chinese hardwood. Unfortunately, a lot of the wood-handled swords imported from China do not have a fine Chinese hardwood. I have no idea what kind of wood this is, and I don't think I really want to know. So these things get to the U.S., we've got a variety of seasons, they expand and contract, and all of a sudden a sword that was supposed to be relatively tight begins to rattle and begins to become a little bit unsafe. As a consequence of that issue, we prefer woods that are less sensitive to the environment. Here's another modern handle material. They've taken a cloth and wrapped it around probably a piece of wood or two used as a shim, which is on top of the brass D-guard. In this case, they took some kind of ribbon, and I'm pretty confident that these edges here are part of the brass D-guard. So that's probably explaining the sharp edges. Not really sure what this is. It kind of reminds me of tennis grip, which is fine. However, the fact that they've got this little bit of different colored tape up front leads me to think that it's not fastened very well and it may start coming undone. And indeed, a lot of these wrappings come undone. Japanese katana, they would first put down a layer of race skin, and then they'd have this little decorative insert that also helps hold things in your hand that would be made out of some kind of metal. And then on top of that, they would have a silk wrapping in a interesting pattern. You don't tend to see that with cheap Chinese butterfly swords. Let's take a look at the cloth wrap on this cold steel handle. It's a traditional Chinese pattern that you might see on a Chinese longsword. It's not the type of wrap you'd see on a Japanese sword. It is, however, over race skin or some kind of artificial race skin. It's a pretty decent handle design, and it is a comfortable 2-in-1 handle. This is rounded. Some potential wood options. On the most expensive end, you get naturally stable Arizona desert ironwood. And it's called ironwood for a reason. It's a real pain to work with, and you're not going to see it on anything that's not full custom. Stepping down the food chain, Coca-Cola is, pretty decent looking wood. It's pretty naturally stable. Moving further down the chain, the material on this semi-custom Model Design LLC longstabber is a stabilized redwood burl. They took the natural piece of wood and then injected a resin under pressure and heat to fill up all of to do a job of attempting to fill up the holes and the various other imperfections in the wood. And as a consequence, this thing is very resistant to expanding and contraction. It also does a pretty good job resisting water. I wouldn't want to leave it under abusive conditions, but not only is it beautiful and stable, but it's a real comfortable feel in the hand. And I want to compare that to a dry Chinese wood for a second. These are really nice swords. They're probably, 3 or 4 years ago, they were probably the best swords for Hung Gar. My one complaint about these knives would be that this really dry handle wood is not as comfortable, and it's more difficult for me to grip for an extended period of time than this stabilized wood. Well, stabilized wood is expensive, and it's not readily available in the locations where the affordable, decent forges tend to be, so you've got to undergo shipping it there, paying the customs duty, paying various other fees, including fees that I'm not sure they're legally allowed to charge, but it's a third world, what can I tell you? So a more affordable and locally available sort of stabilized wood is a stabilized plywood material. And what they do is take layers of select veneer wood and put them in a phenolic resin or some kind of resin under pressure and heat, and you end up with what's known in the trade as pack of wood or diamond wood or a bunch of other names. And those are trade names. So this is a black dyed stabilized laminated wood. It's a really great material. It's really hard. I know when I wanted to take a look at what was going on with a particular tang, I had to saw one of these things off, and it was a real pain in the butt. So it's really solid. That resin really makes it tough. It is pretty environmentally resistant. I won't tell you that it's as good as a fully US stabilized, beautiful decorative wood, but it's better than some of the stuff that comes out of China, and it's affordable, and it looks good. You can get it in a variety of colors.
There's the black. There's the chestnut color. And there's the red-black.
We did an experiment to see which would shrink more. This is an expensive, highly resinous ebony, very beautiful. It's on a tactical bread knife from Odell Design LLC. Most of these bread knives have the black pack of wood type material stabilized plywood handles. So we took one like this and one with the black pack of wood type material handle, stuck them both in my car trunk during a Michigan winter, a really cold one, left them there for a couple of days, and then took a look to see what happened. Now normally one would expect this ebony to have cracked. Instead it just shrunk a little bit. And the black handled bread knife, the scales on that shrunk a little bit also, but they didn't shrink as much as the ebony. And that's the reason why we went with the black stabilized plywood type material for everything Wing Chun's flagship line of knives.
The handle on this Kusang replica is made out of steel. It's got some kind of a coating on top of it. It was surprisingly comfortable.
None of these are the best material for tactical knife handle. Really, the best materials are the Micartas. Micarta is a trade name, so what we're really talking about are the phenolics, and there are a variety of them. This probably looks like wood to you, but it's actually layers of paper in a phenolic resin. This Sasquatch knife has a paper phenolic handle. It looks a lot like wood. It's very comfortable. It's pretty hard. It takes a really nice glossy polish. It has two disadvantages. The first one is, even though it adheres wonderfully to the open hand, if you're wearing a tactical glove, it's going to be slippery. The second disadvantage is it scratches easily. The Micarta material takes layers of canvas and layers the canvas and embeds it in the resin. And in this case we have black canvas micarta, and it's probably my favorite micarta. It feels really good in the hand. You get a good grip. You can wear gloves when you use it. It's just a wonderful material. They also have the same sort of thing with a linen set of layers. You can also get the same thing called G10 with basically fiberglass material. I don't tend to use the G10 because I'm a little bit worried that some of the glass fibers will go floating through the air after a bunch of wear and tear and get into somebody's lungs.